Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sincerely Agile with Mary. If you're joining us for the first time, this is a platform where we promote the growth mindset. We talk about everything, any topic at all that borders on professional and personal development. And we stream on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So if you're joining us for the first time, you are most welcome. Today, we're looking at the human behind the coach. I work as an enterprise agile coach. And what we do in this space, we do a lot of coaching, both agile coaching and professional coaching. And today we're looking at the human behind the coach. And a book has actually been written with the title, The Human Behind the Coach. And I'm inviting to the podcast one of the authors in the name of Lucia Baldelli. And I'm just going to bring her on. Hello, Lucia.
Hello, everyone. Great
How
to be
are you?
here. I'm doing really well. I'm excited to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
I'm just honored to have you. Now, January has gone so quickly. I hope January has been kind to you.
Oh, so and so. Yeah, I'm busy enough. Thank you.
Good, good. So Christmas, did you take some really good downtime? What was that like for you?
Absolutely. Yeah. It was a nice family break, and it's essential, I believe, because I needed to recharge my batteries. So yeah, good break.
Absolutely. Tell me about recharging. Very, very important because the year goes so quickly. We're moving from one project to the other, meetings everywhere. So when the downtime comes, we need to embrace it, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yes. We need to take care of
Fantastic.
ourselves first.
Absolutely, self-care. I see some people have joined us already. I'm just going to check. Okay, there's no comments there just yet, but I see a couple of people, actually 3 people have joined us already. So what I'm going to do at this point now, Lucia, is I'm going to read out your bio so that our audience can get to know you better. Okay, so just give me
Thank
a
you.
minute and I'll do that very, very quickly. Lucia is a master certified coach with the ICF, that is the International Coaching Federation, a certified enterprise and team coach in the agile space, and the co-author of the book, The Human Behind the Coach, with Claire Pedrick. She also trained as a supervisor with Animas Coaching and in organization and relationship systems coaching. Lucia enjoys helping others cross the finish line to succeed. She partners with coaches and leaders who want to amplify their impact and truly believes this can happen if we constantly see ourselves as a work in progress, striving to become a better version of ourselves in every interaction with others. Her focus is helping coaches bring their humanity as they enter the coaching room, which she does through training, mentoring, coaching, and supervision. She works with executives and their teams to help them collaborate better and achieve challenging objectives. She builds internal coaching capabilities within organizations. She founded Coaching Outside the Box in 2016. And outside of work, she's a lucky wife and a mother of 2 boys. Now, Lucia, that's an impressive bio right there, and you're welcome to Sincerely Agile with Mary. Thank you so much for
Thank
being with
you.
us.
Well, the most important thing was missing. I'm Italian.
Oh, yes, you are Italian. Italiano. I'm so sorry I missed that.
Oh, no,
Absolutely.
it's not your fault.
We're going to come to that when we talk about your book. Okay, we're going to come to that.
Okay, let's do that. Yes.
Right. So let's crack on, Lucia. Tell me, when did your agile journey start? Because I tend to ask people in the agile space
Uh,
this question.
Now,
When
if
did
I
it start?
say that, you're going to guess my age, but I'm going to do that anyway. It started more or less when the Agile Manifesto was born. And so I was one of the lucky pioneers in one of the Agile teams. I was actually working in an extreme programming team when I started. And I had the opportunity to collaborate with Francesco Cirillo, one of the most famous Italian agilists and inventor of the Pomodoro technique. And so that was a fantastic experience. I really experienced success in a team. And it was, when I fell in love with Agile and when I decided to start to, experience more, learn more. And so I got into Scrum and then, lots of other things happened. So that was just the start.
Fantastic. So you were one of the early pioneers in this Agile
Yes.
space. I mean, that was long before I joined. I joined the Agile space only 8 years ago. So that's an amazing story. Now, one thing I also know is that when we come into the Agile space, we tend to have an aha moment. So tell us, what was your aha moment when you came into that Agile space?
I guess it's having the customer perspective and looking for early feedback. So continuous loops, not just with the customer, but on different fronts. For example, in this first Agile team where I work, we had a shared test environment with the product owner with nightly builds. And we had very early feedback, almost on a daily basis. And so I saw that working. And I wanted more of that for other teams that, I work with in the following years. So for the, I would say, following 4 or 5 years, I've worked in Agile Center of Excellence within a consultancy company, trying to promote agility within the organization and for our clients, because it was a consultancy company. And so that's when it all, began.
So for you, the continuous collaboration with customers and the quick feedback was what really struck you that this is a good way of working.
Yes, and the technical excellence coming from the emphasis on agile, software development practices, which is extreme programming, basically.
Absolutely.
So the combination of that was incredible.
Cool. Now, Lucia, within the Agile space, we do a lot of coaching, as it were. And in the last few years, there's been a lot of, should I say, emphasis on professional coaching within the Agile space. There's also been a lot of emphasis on delivery, for sure. But because Agile is so people-driven, it highlights the need for professional coaching to be able to hold that space for people to, find their own solutions, if you like. And of course, within the Agile space, we're looking to create self-organizing teams anyway. So tell us, what is coaching? And I'm asking this question because coaching is still a relatively new and evolving profession. So explain to us in simple terms, what is coaching? And try, because sometimes some people think coaching and mentoring, facilitation, they're all the same. So tell us this, what is coaching?
Well, I'll start by saying what it is in the Agile space. I think it's one of the hats that an Agile coach needs to wear, because our teams need different things at different times. So if we are hired as an Agile coach, they might need a teacher, maybe if they are at the beginning of their journey. They might need a facilitator, or they might need a mentor. And, even the same team might need different things at different times. Yes. But when they become more mature, or if you're working not just with Agile teams, but also with leaders or even executives, they need someone who is sparking their thinking, is engaging with them in a thought-provoking process that helps them find their own solution. Because if you're trying to push your opinion on a leader or a team that is quite mature, they're going to push back. They don't need that. They need to be challenged. They need to be supported in their thinking. They need someone with a different perspective that helps them see what they cannot see. Yeah. And so the coach is someone who does that, is invested in their team, or in the leader's success, in the person in front of them, and it's not the personal stage, but is working to help them succeed. And we'll talk about this more, but there's a lot of humility in this definition, because it's all about shutting down our ego in service of someone else's learning and success. So this is what is coaching for me.
Absolutely. And I think you really covered the grounds in terms of what we as coaches need to be really, really be aware of in order to be in service to the client. So we will come to that when we get to looking at your book. Now, for me, attaining the MCC level credential for the ICF, it's a tall order. And I just thought I'll ask you this question because obviously there's ACC, there's PCC, and then there's MCC. Mm-hmm. And I just thought I'll ask you, what informed your, this journey? Because I'm sure it was quite a journey to have gone through those 3 levels. What really
Yeah.
informed that journey to say, you know what, I want to take my coaching career to the very peak? Would like to hear
I'll
that.
I'll tell you how it started, and hopefully that inspires someone who's listening. So when I began I began to work on my personal development to become a better coach because I wanted to serve my teams better. And so I started a personal development path to become a certified team coach with Scrum Alliance. And that was the time when I started to learn about professional coaching. And as I learned that and I used that as a tool with my teams, I realized that I was able to make such a deeper impact on the people that were around me. And so I became very passionate, not just about what I was able to do that I couldn't do before, but also about the personal transformation that had to happen for me to be able to help others in this way, starting from the way I listen, and continuing to the way I support people along this journey. And so as I as I took my first steps into the professional coaching space, I realized that that's what I loved and that's what I wanted to do. And so I just continued in that direction. And I would say to the people who are starting a certification journey, could be the Scrum Alliance, or could be, I don't know, ICF or whatever, I soon realized that it wasn't about the certification itself, but it was about the journey. Because during this journey, I've learned so much, I've changed so much, and I've met so many amazing people that, you just have to enjoy it. Yeah. Maybe you start with the idea of a certification, but then it becomes something else. And so even now, someone would say, oh, you have accomplished MCC, so you're done. It's not about that. It's about what you're going to learn next. So you become sort of addicted to learning in some way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm so happy you talked about the transformation. I'm
Mhm.
happy you talked about talked about the fact that it is a journey, right?
Yeah.
Because one of the things that struck me in the last couple of years was my own transformation as well. And I mean, I have 3 university degrees, but I can tell you this much, Lucia, those degrees, they were useful. They made me knowledgeable. They gave me a platform. But when it comes to truly becoming transformed, it was when I came into the Agile space and I started my professional coaching journey. It's totally different. I'm not saying the university degree is not important, but it's a totally different ballgame because this is really talking about, it's helping you to look inward. How can you show up for other people? How can you be in
Yeah.
service? How can you create, productive relationships? I didn't get that when I did all my university degrees. Totally different scenario. So it's about who we are becoming. And that is why I value these professional coaching certifications. It's not about the
Absolutely.
certifications. It's
Yeah.
about the journey, it's about the process, and it's about who we are becoming.
Yes.
So
And it's about the work you need to do on
on
yourself
yourself.
to be able to support others in a different way. And that will inevitably not just impact, the your co-workers or your teams, your leaders, will
Yeah,
also impact your private relationship and
exactly.
your self-awareness and the way you show up with others.
Your self-awareness just goes to the roof. And like you
Yeah.
said, it's not just about work scenarios, it's about how you show up in every single space. Honestly,
Absolutely.
even when I got my ICR job, I said it. I said it's about who I am becoming, and I love it. So cool stuff.
Wonderful.
Right. So let's get to your book. This amazing book you have written with Claire. Am I holding it the right way? Okay.
No, yes.
I'm holding it the
Yes.
right way. Okay. This amazing book you've written with Claire
Claire.
Pedrick. I've started reading it. I'm sort of halfway through, and it's nice to pick up a book and to see my mentor's name on it because you have mentored me for
Oh,
my CTC
yes.
and my CEC. So to pick up such a great book and to know that that was written by my mentor, that is just awesome. So let's
Thank
talk
you.
about the book, right? Um, why did you find it necessary to write a book on this topic, which is the human behind the coach?
So once again, I'll tell you how it all started. So I met Claire during the first lockdown at the beginning of the pandemic. And I reached out to her because she was, I needed, I decided to have a couple of mentors for my MCC. And so she was one of them. And our conversations started from mastery and what mastery means in coaching, because we were exploring, we were looking at my recordings and we were exploring what I needed to grow to become an MCC. And we soon realized that it wasn't about what we do when we coach someone, but it's more about who we are and how human we show up in the coaching room. And, it became soon apparent that there was so much to say about it, and it's a gap in literature, because there are none or maybe very few books that talk about the being of coaching and how we need to be different to demonstrate art in the coaching room. And, even if you listen to a recording that has a perfect transcript, if you're not bringing your human self, it could sound like, just reading a script, and it's horrible and it's not masterful. You know what I mean? And that's when we started to brainstorm what then became the first part, which is about the human qualities we need to demonstrate in the room. Now, it is very difficult to show them, to demonstrate them, if we haven't had life experiences that allowed us to grow those muscles, right? And therefore, in the book, you'll find lots of our personal stories on how we developed those qualities, maybe, how we stumbled and learned how to be different on that specific quality that we can now demonstrate in the coaching room. And that doesn't mean we're perfect. We are, as you said, we're work in progress, right? So there's always something we need to grow, and there are always ways to develop. But that was the essence of the idea as it came out. And then part 2, which is about the humanity in the space we did between us, is more about the dance with the client and how that plays out in the lyrics, so in the words we hear, or in the tone, and that's the music of the conversation, and in the flow. And so how we handle transitional moments, for example, and how that altogether becomes a flawless dance, seamless dance, where we are in service of someone else's learning.
Absolutely. So in terms of writing the book, the core reason for writing the book was to help other coaches essentially to understand the human side of coaching. Because like we said earlier on, coaching is still an evolving profession. And I think what this book will do for a lot of people is to really get them to understand that it's not about us. It's about it. When it comes to coaching, it's everything to do with the thinker or the client, if you like. It's about how we just hold that space and how we show up. And we have a lot to do in terms of working on ourselves. So the work that we need to do on ourselves, I think, is what this book actually focuses on, in my opinion. How we work on ourselves so that we can show up the right way, right?
Yes, and I would add something else. There's a lot of literature and a lot of coaching education that is focused on tools and skills, but those can take you up to a level. After that, you can only improve if you demonstrate, if you are someone different. So if you focus on your being as a coach, rather than using a particular technique.
And when you're using a particular technique, or when you're so heavily dependent on techniques and models, and you think you have a structured questions that you have to fall back on, you will get stuck, because what that means is perhaps you're not present.
Yes, and you're losing responsiveness. Yes, absolutely.
Right, we're going to come back to the book. So tell me, why Claire? Why with Claire? I mean, I know you said you needed a mentor, but why did you think, you know what, I'm going to sit down with this amazing woman and we're going to write a book together?
Well, it was an idea, actually, because after a number of conversations, because we had like maybe 10 hours of mentoring before we started to talk about it, it became apparent that there was so much to say and there was very little about it in the coaching literature. And so she had the idea. She asked me, and of course, I was honored, and I was really happy to embark on this journey because I would have never done it on my own. And so if you see some nice writing, that's her, because she's native English. I'm not. But there was an amazing, coming up with ideas and building on top of each other's ideas. And the whole writing process was incredibly, how can I say, it was an incredible learning journey. I never thought I was going to learn so much. So when you start writing, you think you're going to teach something to others, but I actually learned a lot as I was writing, because it was a lot of exploration on, what that thing meant for myself and how it played out in a recording. So if we're talking about humility, for example, what does that mean for a coach? And how do we know if a coach is demonstrating humility? What does enough humility looks like? What does too much humility looks like? And what's the impact on the person in front of you?
Absolutely. I mean, you must have gone through some serious reflections. Yeah.
Yes, nearly 2.5 years
Yes.
of serious
Yes.
reflection.
A lot of
Yes.
reflections. Okay. So let's concentrate more on the book now. The book is written in two parts. There's part one. Part one talks about humanity within, and part two talks about humanity between, right? So I'm thinking that's between the spaces between people, right? So let's start with humanity within. I like the fact that you've split the book into two like that: part one, part two, humanity within, humanity between. Silence. Personally, I struggled with silence for a very, very long time. And I think a lot of people say that as well. I found it really awkward when there was silence, and I felt the need to fill the space. So tell us, and I can see that's the first thing you started with. It was so important you started with that. Tell us about silence. We're going to just cover some aspects of the book. So tell us
Yes,
about
some
silence and why
highlights.
that's critical.
Well, there's two aspects of silence. There's silence in our head, first of all, because if we need to make room for others, we need to be able to be silent in our head, because as we listen to someone else's story, we come up with ideas, we recall memories, and we have insights, opinions, and it's so hard to shut down our mind chatter, but that's so important if we got to focus on the person in front of us. And then there's silence in the conversation, which could be generative, but could also be very awkward. And so really important for the coach is to understand when the silence is useful for the person in front of us and when the silence is awkward because they may be waiting on us. We don't know what to say. We are stuck. And so we learn to distinguish that. And we need to, I think it's important to learn to understand when it's our time to jump in and break the silence, but also be okay and comfortable with a long silence, because if it's useful for them, it's going to be, thought-provoking, it's going to be challenging, and they're going to come up with some answers during that silence. They think while we're silent.
Yes, yes. And that is what being silent does for them. It actually gives them the space to think. But I think the difficult part here is in knowing when that silence is helping them and when it is not. I think
Yes.
a lot of us still struggle with that. But I also believe that if we are present, then we can perhaps tell when it's okay to break that silence from our side, maybe with a question to say what's happening for you right now, or whatever.
Yeah, and they will tell us, maybe not with their words, but with their,
Yeah,
with their facial expression. Because if they're thinking, they'll probably go, look somewhere else, and
yeah.
they'll be busy thinking. And when they're done, they come back to us and they keep the eye contact with us, and and then we'll know that it's our turn to jump in.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk very quickly about not knowing. Not knowing. Now, when it comes to not knowing, I know when I started my journey, I tried to plan, really, really plan. I'm going to do this. I'm going to use this tool. I'm going to use that tool. But we also know that we can get into the meeting or workshop and it's a totally different story. Again, over time, I got comfortable. I did prepare, but I got comfortable with showing up, knowing that things can totally change. So let's talk about not knowing. What can you share with our audience about control and not knowing?
Well, we can't predict how a coaching conversation will go. So there's no way we can plan for it. And, some coaches are a little bit scared about that because, in every coaching course, I'm being asked a list of questions they should ask. And they are afraid of the moment where they're going to get stuck and they don't know what they're going to do with that. But the moment we forget about the list of questions and we embrace, just being in the moment and not knowing what's going to happen, then we can really be fully present. So when we stop wanting to control the conversation, we also stop taking ownership of the outcome, right? And that's when we're going to co-create what happens with the person in front of us. It's not our job to come up with a solution or an answer, but we need to co-create where the conversation will go together. And so that put a lot less pressure on us as coaches.
Exactly. And I think that is what we really need to appreciate, that the bulk of the job is done by the thinker, is done by the client, not us. But our presence, how we show up, also does a lot for the client, right? In terms of holding that space, asking the right questions at the right time. But earlier on in my career as an Agile coach, not necessarily in a one-to-one coaching conversation, I always felt the need to really get prepared. And it's very easy to bring that mindset, if you're not careful, into your one-to-one professional coaching conversation. But you will very quickly realize that you don't need to do that much work. Actually,
absolutely,
you don't need to do that much work. You just need to be attentive, show up in the right mindset, right coaching mindset, and hold the space. Fantastic. Humility. You talked about humility earlier on, and I think the real question here is, how much humility is too much humility?
Well, we lose our grounded presence, and then they will cover us. We're not confident enough. That's not enough humility. Too much humility. Not enough humility is we take too much space. We start sharing, or we start teaching, or we make it about us when it's not about us. Or simply we can't shut down our inner voice. It's about how big is our ego in the room.
Trying to show off.
Yes.
Right. So we need to strike a balance between the fact that, it's important to be humble, but it is also important that we don't show up in a way that shows us up as incompetent. That's what you're saying.
Correct. Yes. We hold our authority, but we're not too big.
Yeah.
We're at the same level, basically.
Exactly.
So if we're coaching someone with a high status, imagine an executive. I've heard a lot of people, I've mentors say, who am I to coach an executive? Now, the moment you say that, you're putting yourself one level down. And so you're not able to have a conversation in partnership, because if we are in partnership, we are equal.
Yeah.
The other way around, if we are too not enough, if we demonstrate no humility or very little humility, we are, our certifications come before us, and we puff up. How can I say that? We are too big. We take too much space in the coaching room, and we make it about us.
Fantastic. And it shouldn't be about us. It shouldn't be about us.
Oh, no, absolutely not. It's their time, it's their topic, it's their life, and they are the expert.
Absolutely. Now, vulnerability is another good one, Lucia. And it's not always an easy one. And for you, obviously, writing this book meant you really had to reflect on your coaching journey. And of course, that included, your professional journey as well. And you talked in this book about a part where you had just moved from Italy to Spain, Gibraltar, the English-speaking part of Gibraltar, and it was the first day of a new job. Tell us what happened.
It was my first job in English, and I had worked a crazy amount of hours to to improve with my English, and I was on a call with my manager, my new manager, and a team in India, and they were very fluent and spoke really, really fast. And at the end of the meeting, my manager asked me, "Do you have any questions, Lucia?" And I said, "Actually, I didn't understand what you're talking about." If I remember, now I can laugh about it. It was incredible, but that was maybe the moment when I felt extremely vulnerable. Like, it's like being naked, in front of someone else, and you have to be honest. You can't fake you understood what the meeting was about.
Yeah.
But then, if I translate that to the coaching, to my coaching practice, sometimes people share with me, and I'm sure it's the same for other coaches, things they never shared with anyone else before, or things that are so crucial, so important for them, and they are very vulnerable with us. Now, how can we welcome that if we're not willing to be vulnerable ourselves? And so vulnerability in a coaching conversation means we're going to make mistake. There's not one single conversation that's going to be perfect, and that is perfectly fine. So again, just like just like control, if we accept that, it's going to be much easier. Like, whew, I feel so much less pressure if it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yes.
I don't have to have the perfect question. I don't have to ask, the perfect thing just doesn't exist. It's more about being with the person in front of us. So that's humility for me.
And if we are present, the questions will come. If we are present and we're listening to what is said and not said in terms of the body language, we will know the next question to ask.
Yeah, because they will come from
on any question that we brought into the space, we will get stuck, because by this time we would have missed perhaps the body language that could have prompted a question.
Mm-hmm. And it will come from what they've just said, or from a side they've just made, or from, I don't know, a shift of any kind. But if we're too busy thinking, we don't see it, we miss it. Or if we're, taking notes, we don't even see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why being present is so much more important than, anything else.
Than anything else. Absolutely. Now let's look at the second part of the book, humanity between. Tell us first and foremost, what do you mean by humanity between?
It means the humanity that is being demonstrated. It's not the humanity we bring, so the human qualities we need to cultivate, but how it plays out in the coaching room, in the space between us and the person in front of us.
Right. So when you say how it plays out, how do we we can't predict what's going to happen, but as a coach going into a coaching conversation, I guess the best you can do is to bring your full self in order for that humanity between to be the best that it can possibly be.
Yes, but it's also about how we handle whatever happens.
Right. In the moment.
In the moment, yes. So, it's about how we dance and how we keep the conversation in flow.
Tell me about go on.
Yeah,
go on.
I was saying a big part to that is partnership. Yeah. Because when we're working in partnership, we'll see it when we're capable of handling the transition between us and the client and how we shift, because there will be moments when we are taking them somewhere if we feel it's useful and we partner to co-create that. There will be moments where we share, but there will also be moments where, we pass them the wheel and they take the wheel. They are on the driving seat. And so it's about being able to handle that.
Yeah, they're almost always on the driving seat because it is their journey.
Yes, but it doesn't happen in many conversations, I've rarely seen it's a journey of growth to get to a point where we can really work in full partnership. So that will be an MCC recording. It wouldn't be an ACC recording.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's so much we need to grow to be able to let go of that and give them the ownership of what's going to happen, or tell them what's the most useful thing to do now, or where should we take this conversation next. And it takes a lot of courage as well.
Yeah, because it's where they want to go. It's their solution. It's what they want, and we're just there to help them achieve that. So the partnership is us holding the space while they do the thinking.
Yes, but if we don't take responsibility for whatever outcome we're going to achieve, then it becomes more of a co-creation than, oh, I've got to get this person unstuck because they're stuck now. Because the moment, that there will be time when a conversation, the client gets stuck. It happens, right? And then what a beginner coach would do, they're panic. I panicked myself when I was at the early stages of my journey. I'm going to handle that. They're stuck. I'm stuck too. What am I going to do? What am I going to ask? But instead, if we are okay with that, like, yeah, we're stuck. I'm stuck. I feel stuck now, and I'm okay to say it. I'm vulnerable. And how would you feel? What could be a metaphor to describe that? And how we can, and maybe they'll talk about quicksand. I don't know. I'm just making up an example. How do we get out of the quicksand? What could be, a rope that will take us out? And we start talking about that. We start talking about a metaphor that can help us express what, is difficult to verbalize in simple words. And so we play with that, and we design together how we should get out.
And I'm happy you mentioned that, because in reality, you can get stuck as a coach.
Oh, yes.
You can get
course.
stuck as a coach. And you have to be vulnerable enough to be able to say, I'm stuck, like you said, and, and come up with whatever comes out of your mouth at that point in time. And see how you can get unstuck together. Absolutely.
But we can't handle this if we're not vulnerable.
Yeah.
And if we're not willing to share what we feel in that moment.
Yeah.
And if we want to keep control of the conversation. So you see how all the qualities we have explored at the beginning are sort of prerequisites to have to work in partnership and to be okay with whatever happens. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And all those qualities include, being vulnerable, humility, not controlling, silence. In particular, for getting unstuck, one needs that, ability to be vulnerable in the moment. And Tutu is just saying here, yes, mistakes are inevitable. I think she's responding to something we said earlier. Be comfortable in the moment. Because at the end of the day, we're all human, right?
Yeah, we're not perfect.
And we're not pre-programmed.
And we don't have the answer for them, So if they're stuck, I'm not going to give you I don't have the answer.
Yeah.
So let's find together a way to get unstuck.
Exactly. Because it's their solution. And they're going to have to go and do whatever it is they have to do after the coaching conversation. So it is important that they own it. So yes, we can help them get unstuck, but like you said, we don't have the answer. In coaching, we don't have the answer. And that is part of the dance, isn't it?
Yes, because, for example, a moment when we're stuck, it could be a time when we're actually courageous enough to say, we've been sitting on this chair for 20 minutes and nothing has changed. What did you say you wanted to achieve? Success? Can you visualize success in your room? Okay, let's jump. Let's make a physical jump to that. And let's try something different. Yeah, let's try some physical movement to shift perspectives. And so, Yeah, that means, doing something that is a little bit edgy, if I can say that. I remember the first times I had to use physical movements with leaders. I was like, oh my God, they're going to think I'm crazy. Can you ask an executive to jump? But yes, we shift perspective, and we have to be brave, and we have to do it with them. So if we
Absolutely.
dance with them, something is going to happen. And this is also about trust in the process.
Trust in the process, reading the environment as well, isn't it? To feel, okay,
Yes.
maybe there's a low energy right now. Maybe I need to do something, different. It
Different.
comes from, yeah, it comes from being present again. It comes from being present.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about trust. Let's
Mm.
talk about trust. What is the role of trust here?
Oh, it's essential. It's essential. We need trust in the space between us. And sometimes we have people that come to us because they've been referred. Yeah, I mostly work in organizations, right? I work with executives that ask me to work with their teams, or maybe someone in that teams is referred to me for coaching, and so they come to me and they've been sent, but they are not like, why am I supposed to be here, or why should I even trust this lady? I don't even know her. So trust is about creating the prerequisites for safety, for an open dialogue, that it can be useful to a person that comes and it's even skeptical about it. And so it's essential, and it I think we can build that trust by proving the value that we bring. And so confidentiality, of course, is an essential element to that, particularly for people who, are coming to us, but they're being referred. So they don't know us at all. Because if someone that knows us, they will come with full trust and high expectations. But if it's someone that doesn't know us at all and is being sent, then we need to build that trust straight away.
There
I,
might
I
even,
remember,
yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
I'm gonna share a story. I
Yeah,
remember an Asian lady that I coached some time ago, and I remember that she came and she was really skeptical about coaching. She never tried coaching before, and it was like, I could see her. Uh, she was hesitant, and we tried some coaching, and she went really, really, really deep. And the next time she came, she was ready to do deep work once again. And so once you prove what can happen if they are open and if they are willing to do the work, because it works both ways, right? It's not just us being courageous to ask challenging questions, but it's also them be courageous to do some deep work. Then they're gonna want more because it's useful.
it is useful. Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
not it's not like having a coaching app. It's about having someone who can challenge you, who can see patterns you don't see. It's not a robot. It's a
Absolutely.
it's a human being that listens to you.
Hmm. And you talked about being referred. So take for example, if a boss is referring their team or someone in the team, this is where the trust becomes very important, because already that person might have some degree of resentment or resistance to that coaching. So as a coach, taking that into consideration, that the coaching hasn't come directly from the person in question, but for whatever reason, maybe they've just had a performance review or something, and they think this person needs coaching to do whatever, I don't know, and that could bring some degree of resistance. So the trust in getting them to understand that, what, this is a process that can work for you if you're open. I think that is very important, and how we build that trust has a lot to do with how we show up, again, drawing from all those qualities.
Yes, and on how we set boundaries, particularly in organizational contexts. I was with a new client a couple of hours ago, and I told them, look, we're going to have a team session, and I don't want you to be there. And they look at me like, what? Oh, yes, because if they have to be fully open, they might want to be, just between them. Even me, I'm external, but I'm going to promise full confidentiality, and I'm going to
Mhm.
share only anonymously the bigger themes that are emerging. Is this okay with you? Oh, yes, it is.
And you need to have contracted that with them to say, what do you
Correct.
want me to share?
Yeah. So, but in organizational contexts, in my view, based on my experience as well, contracting with the triangle, so the team, the manager, and the coach is super essential to make sure that we're all aligned on the work we're going to do together, the outcomes we want to achieve, and how we protect the information, how we guarantee safety in this triangle. And so we go back to boundaries, in your profession, in the organization. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I don't want us to cover too much because
Because people have to read the book.
because I need people to go get the book and to read
Exactly.
it.
Yes, and I would love
it.
feedback. I would love
It's
feedback from anyone. Actually, can I offer a giveaway, Mary?
Yes, you can offer a giveaway.
I would
Absolutely.
be, because I always do giveaways when I join, Agile events. I love that because I love to give back to the community.
That's
I've
fantastic.
taken so much from the community, and this is my opportunity to give back to the first person who will contact me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to send a free copy of the book with a sign, a signature, and a
A
dedication.
signature. I think I'll have to send mine back to you then because I don't have your signature and you're my
Oh,
mentor.
we'll meet, because I will visit the UK sooner or later. I will have to meet in person.
I already
And
have
so,
a copy. We'll just give it
yeah,
away, like you said. So whoever contacts Lucia first via LinkedIn, send her a DM. The first person to contact her will get a copy of this amazing book. This book is amazing. It's talking about the human behind the coach. And for those of us who truly know what coaching is about, we know how important this topic is. We need to work on ourselves. It's not about the client. It's not about us. It's all about the client, and it is how we show up to serve the client. So this will really put us in a position to know how we do that and how we do it successfully. So my last question to you, Lucia. Given there's an increasing need for coaching, any words of advice for aspiring agile and professional coaches?
yes. Two, actually. The first is, you can't really call yourself an agile coach unless you've had some exposure to professional coaching. And by that, I don't necessarily mean a very expensive, ICF accredited program, but you have to learn what that means. And you need some help for that. There's loads of peer groups and opportunities to learn in a cheap way, even observing, someone else who is doing coaching. But you need that. It's a fundamental skill for an agile coach, and it will take your coaching to a different level, because once you have that mindset, you're going to be able to support better even people outside of agile. I barely do any agile anymore, even in organizations, because I work with leaders that know nothing about agile, and I partner with executives that know nothing about agile or very little about agile. And this is not about doing something, is about showing up as a leader in a different way.
Yeah.
And so once you have those skills, that will open up so many opportunities for you as in your career. First. Second, that will change you. I know Mary is nodding because Mary has gone through that journey herself. It will send you, it will change you into a different person. And if you start because you want the ICF certification, you have to be prepared that it won't finish with the ICF certification. And that's the beauty of it, because then you become passionate about becoming a better version of yourself every day, and being open to be a work in progress. Yeah, I'm not perfect. I'm never going to be perfect. That's perfectly fine. And the next thing I'm going to do will teach me something. Absolutely. And the next person I'm going to meet will teach me something.
Absolutely.
And so that invites so much, openness to receive from others and to give to others, that is just, beautiful.
Absolutely. Tutu has just sent you a message, so I think she's going to be getting a copy. And I like the advice you just gave there about professional coaching. And I think this is so important because we're talking today about how leadership needs a lot of coaching skills, because we've moved away from the era of command and control. So we need
Absolutely.
leaders with coaching skills. So that is very important. Also, within teams, team coaching is becoming very, very important now. Team coaching, how can we bring out the best? How can we bring
Mhm.
out the best, of the members of the team? Because it's not about having, people with PhD degrees in the team. It's nothing to do with your individual talent, but how the individual talent and wisdom and experiences, how we can harness that. And that will be down to the quality of their interactions. The quality of their interactions, not the brilliance they hold individually. And I think this is where coaching really benefits a team within organizations. So it is very, very important as agile coaches that we really invest in ourselves for professional coaching.
Absolutely. And even in the team coaching space, we
Mm.
can't really call themselves team coaches unless we have had exposure to professional coaching
Exactly.
and we hold that mindset.
Absolutely. So Tutu said, I would love to read the book. Haven't heard so much about it today.
Thank you, Tutu.
Absolutely. And Ronke is saying hello. Hello, Ronke. Nice to have you. And we're just coming to the end of our conversation today. Next week, I'm having Gil Brother. He has also written an amazing book on delivering better results. And at a time like this, when a lot of agile coaches seem to be having problems, I think this is a great conversation to have and a great book to have as well. So, Lucia, I cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much for the time investment here today, and thank you
Thank
for
you.
making the time to write such a fantastic book. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
for
much.
doing this,
Thank you.
actually, for
Thank
serving
you.
the community in such a beautiful way for how many years?
3 years so far. Three.
Ooh. Well
It
done,
was
Mary.
three
Thanks
years
for
in
having me.
January. I mean, we
I
all
love
have to give back.
Oh, yes, definitely. I loved having a chat with you, and
Thank you.
thanks to all the people that joined and will listen. And yeah, it's been great to be here. Thank you so much.
It's been really great. Thank you for all you do, Lucia, as well. And thank you for
Thank
having been
you.
a great mentor to me as well. Thank you so much. And this is where we draw the curtain. And we'll see you guys again next week, Wednesday, same time, same place. Thank you, Lucia.
Bye. Thank you. Bye bye. Bye.